Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating breakdown of human drive, ambition, and work. It's this concept the source material calls the purpose dilemma. You know, if you've ever felt stuck, or maybe felt like you're working incredibly hard but just not quite hitting that mark of true fulfillment, well, you're in the exact right place today. We're going to completely unpack the blueprint of why we do what we do, and more importantly, how to get all the different pieces of our lives pulling in the exact same direction.
Why am I here? Where am I going? Let's be honest, these are those towering, massive existential questions that literally every single person faces when they're looking for genuine meaning in life. And they can feel totally overwhelming, right? It's kind of like staring up at the base of Mount Everest and having absolutely no idea how to even start climbing. But the great thing about our source material today is that it takes these huge abstract ideas and brings them right down to earth.
So how exactly do we decode this whole purpose dilemma? Well, the framework we're looking at breaks these scary questions down into 4 very tangible, interlocking pillars. We're going to walk through them one by one so you can see exactly how they fit together. And to make it super easy to grasp, the source uses this brilliant, relatable analogy of a simple knife. Let's see how this actually works.
Okay, pillar number 1 is purpose. The text defines purpose as, quite simply, why you exist. In the context of the source, it's God's reason for creating you. It's the lasting impact your life is meant to have. We're talking about something far bigger and way more permanent than just a career, a specific talent you might have, or some fancy job title. Now think about our knife analogy for a second. A knife cuts, but there's a fundamental reason why it cuts, right? It exists to make a large chunk of food easier to cook and eat. That larger reason, that ultimate impact of preparing a meal, that is its core purpose.
Next up, we have vision. Vision is defined as what you see. It's this picture of the future that provides direction for the fulfillment of your purpose over time. Basically, it gives your life a trajectory. Going back to our knife analogy, when you pick up a knife in the kitchen, you aren't just looking forward to endlessly hacking away at a piece of meat. No, you're anticipating the full meal, completely prepared, beautifully plated, and ready to be eaten. Vision is keeping that final, beautiful meal right there in your mind's eye while you do the hard work.
All right, moving on to the third pillar, vocation. Vocation is simply what you do. It's the daily, totally practical application of your drive. Think of it as your calling expressed through specific work, services, or daily assignments. And what's really fascinating here is that a person might have a bunch of different vocations throughout their life, all while pursuing the exact same overarching purpose. Think about our knife again. A knife cuts. That's its vocation, its daily job. But it might cut bread today, a steak tomorrow, and vegetables the day after that. The specific task changes, the vocation shifts, but the ultimate purpose of making a meal, that stays exactly the same. Now, right about now, you might be thinking, a knife? What? The source text actually throws in this exact playful question, just to keep us on our toes. A knife does what? Because a knife just sitting there on a kitchen counter does absolutely nothing on its own, does it? What gives it the kinetic force to actually slice through that tough bread or meat? It needs a driving force behind it. And that brings us perfectly to our 4th and final foundational pillar.
That driving force is passion. Passion is what drives you. It's that inner fire, uniquely shaped by your own life experiences, your deep convictions, and the specific problems that just deeply move your heart. Passion is what gives you the sheer energy and the perseverance to keep pushing down on that knife, to keep doing the daily work, even when your arm is completely exhausted. It totally completes our set of 4 pillars. We now have the why, the future picture, the daily action, and the internal fuel.
So when we synthesize everything we've just talked about, we can pair each concept with the exact question it uniquely answers. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. Purpose answers, why am I here? Vision answers, where am I going? Vocation steps in to answer, what am I to do to get there? And finally, passion answers, what keeps me going when the journey gets really difficult? By laying it out exactly like this, the source takes some incredibly abstract philosophical concepts and makes them so tangible and practical for our everyday lives.
But here is where the text introduces a really vital twist. What happens when these 4 essential pillars fall out of sync with one another? The source calls this the misalignment test. And look, we've all felt it at some point, right? That nagging feeling that something is just off, even when we are working incredibly hard. Let's break down exactly what these failures look like when the pieces don't perfectly interlock.
Let's run through these common pitfalls rapidly. First, if you have purpose without vision, you might be highly active, but you completely lack clear direction. You're basically just running on a treadmill. Second, vision without vocation, well, that often remains just a daydream. You can see the future, sure, but you aren't doing the daily work to actually get there. Third, vocation without purpose. This is a huge one. It becomes mere employment, just mindlessly clocking in and clocking out, a totally hollow activity. And finally, passion without wisdom. This inevitably leads to severe burnout or just this misplaced, chaotic zeal. Without total alignment across all four, we risk falling right into one of these traps.
Thankfully, though, the text resolves this tension beautifully. When all four of these elements, purpose, vision, vocation, and passion, perfectly align, your life finally gains true meaning, clear direction, expression, and real endurance. It's exactly like an engine where all the cylinders are finally firing in perfect sequence. All that internal friction just disappears, and you actually have the endurance to reach that future picture you've been aiming for all along. Now, to fully understand this framework, we do have to look at its ultimate foundation according to our source material. The text states, "For a Christian, none of these begin with personality tests or trends. They begin with God." The author is really emphasizing that within this specific worldview, God is the ultimate architect of the whole framework. He is the one who gives the purpose, reveals the vision, assigns the specific vocations throughout life, and ultimately sustains that burning passion.
To back this up, the text points directly to historical scripture, specifically referencing Jeremiah 29:11 to remind readers that God has plans for his people. From the source's perspective, this reinforces the idea that your purpose and your vision, they aren't random accidents or things you just have to blindly guess at in the dark. They are distinct, premeditated plans for your future, intentionally designed for you.
And that brings us to a really great follow-up reference from Proverbs 3:5-6, which encourages the reader to trust him rather than lean solely on your own understanding. The source's core message here is really all about surrender and trust within this framework. Rather than relying strictly on yourself, your own limited view, or the latest viral self-help trend, the text suggests leaning entirely on the creator of the framework to guide those four pillars into perfect alignment.
The source material wraps everything up with a simple yet deeply provocative question. Does this make sense? And you know what? I want to turn that exact question directly over to you. As you look at your own purpose, vision, vocation, and passion right now, does your current life make sense? Are your pillars totally aligned, or are you maybe caught up in one of those misalignment traps we covered? It's a pretty profound thought to chew on as you go about the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me as we unpacked the purpose dilemma. I really hope this provided a clear, structured lens for your own journey. Keep learning, keep seeking that alignment, and I will see you on the next explainer.